The challenge for us is to be fully committed followers of Jesus. And you think about this. Think about how many people see the church as being a bunch of people who actually don't follow the words and teachings of Jesus, who don't care about the poor, who don't love their neighbors themselves, who aren't fully following Jesus, right? How much would that change if we actually follow Jesus for who he says he is? In Acts chapter 5, we see two different examples. Two examples of people who responded to Jesus asking them to follow him. First, we see a couple, Ananias and Sapphira. And Ananias and Sapphira had some property, and they tried to sell it, and they did sell it, and they made money. And they told the apostles they gave them everything that they made, but they held money back. That did not end well for them, because they were holding something back from Jesus. Then we see the disciples. The disciples went and were preaching in the temple, the Jewish temple, in front of priests and all these Jewish people. They were boldly proclaiming the name of Jesus, so much, in fact, that they were arrested and thrown into prison. But God wasn't done with them yet. He sent an angel to release them from prison and tell them to go back out to preach the gospel. So what did they do? They went back out and they preached. The priest said this to them, "Didn't we tell you never again to teach in this man's name? Instead, you have filled all Jerusalem with your teaching about him, and you want to make us responsible for his death." But Peter and the apostles replied, I love this. It says, "We must obey God rather than any human authority." What authority are you following? I'm not talking about listening to your parents, listening to your teacher, all those things. Like, please listen to your parents. But what is guiding you? What's motivating you? What's pushing you? Who are you listening to? Are you listening to what the world says, that you will be fulfilled if you have money, if you have a dog and a house and a white picket fence and 2.5 kids? Like, that's not going to fulfill you. Knowing what you're going to major in college isn't going to make your life so much better. But let me tell you who will fulfill you. Jesus. Following Jesus is not easy, but it is so worth it. We see the disciples here throughout the book of Acts enduring so much pain and hardship and persecution because they are following Jesus. But here's what they know. They know without a shadow of doubt that Jesus is worth it. I remember I used to hate altar calls. Altar calls are these things where the pastor invites everybody after the sermon to respond to what God's doing. And I used to hate them. I used to think God was asking me to give up my friends, give up guitar, and I love playing guitar. Like, why would he do that? But God isn't wanting your life to be miserable. He knows that the way that you find the deepest joy, the deepest satisfaction is through following Jesus with all that you are. So don't be lukewarm. Luke 9:24 says it like this. It says, "If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you will save it." What are you holding on to? What are you clinging to? What's that thing in your life that you are struggling to get rid of? Maybe you know just by me asking that question, you're like, Trey, I don't really want to get rid of that thing. Like, I like doing this with my friends. Or like, I like being on my computer this much. Or I like kind of gossiping about people and talking bad about them. What are you holding on to? Are you clinging to something else other than Jesus? Because if you are at best being lukewarm. And that's not the call. The call is to fully follow Jesus. So here's the challenge for you today. Whether or not you believe in Jesus, what's holding you back from following him entirely with every aspect of your life? I want you to write it down. Write down that one thing. Talk to God about it. Wrestle with him. And at the end of this month, I want you to go back and look and see what God does. See if he's changed your heart about that thing and made you want him more than you want that thing.